Welcome back to the Buy My Merch podcast season 4. I'm so excited to be joined by the one and only Annabel Lee.
Oh, yeah. Hello.
Welcome to the Mint. Welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me. This is so spooky.
It is. So what you can't see off camera is we're actually in a live music venue. This is the Mint. And the stage, we turn the lights off on the stage. So it's almost like we snuck in. We're not supposed to be here. We're going to capture a quick interview and bolt. Yeah, that's the vibe. Well, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. I have to just say, too, that you came recommended from a few previous guests who just absolutely said, if you're in LA again, you got to chat with Annabel and all of her wild, fun things that you do. I want to start off right away by just complimenting you on the artist universe that you've built around your music and your performance art. And I want to kind of just intro a little bit as to how you got to this point with your artistry, to this, again, very theatrical, what feels very thematic place. How long did it take?
33 years. Well, I was always kind of a ham as a kid, but my mom put me in classical piano when I was 4. So it was like music was introduced really, really quickly. And I was just obsessed with it pretty quickly also. But yeah, I was just never really interested in anything that wasn't art or theater, not theater, but like being in front of people on a stage and being loud and obnoxious. That was always my interest until now it's never changed. I did a lot of acting when I was younger. I did, all the school plays when I was in middle school. All of that was kind of like I loved being in front of people, and I already knew that, and writing poems, and kind of just all the things together, mushed together.
Writing too. Poetry was a big piece of it.
Yeah, in 2nd grade, my teacher could tell that I was not interested in school, and wrote my mom a letter and was like, she's acting a little odd. I was like sitting under my desk or something. I don't know what I did, but she also could tell that I really liked poetry, because when we did creative writing, I would always like actually do my work. So my teacher bought me a binder to keep all my poems in. I still have this binder. It's purple, and it has all these laminated poems from 2nd grade in it. And it was like my greatest accomplishment. It was like all these poems. And yeah, I've always written poems. I've always loved being on stages, and music was kind of the easiest way, I think, for me to do both.
To marry it all together.
Yeah, to bring both together.
Do you find that the universe itself was built on stage, or are you somebody who's really behind the scenes putting these pieces together?
Way more behind the scenes.
Okay.
Yeah, in my solitude, there's a lot of things going on. Especially, I think now, I feel like with everyone's process is so on display, and I'm so not like that. Like, I don't want to share my process. I feel like that's the only thing that's sacred anymore to me is my process. And like I'm not going to like film myself writing, I'm not going to film myself at my studio doing all the weird stuff that I do there to warm up for writing either. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that is just for me. And I think that actually comes through when I get to have these events. It's like, it feels like, oh, it's a big reveal, because like I've been doing all this work and I just get one night to really like show it off. So that's kind of, behind the scenes, there's a lot more happening, I think, for me.
So how then, 2020 hits, we're all online, especially musicians. Did you have a period where you tried the whole, hey, here's how I write, or you kind of gave in to that content style?
No, I did try in the beginning of 2020. I remember like doing the like, I'm going live at 3:00, and like I'd play like a song, but then it like, I think I lasted 2 weeks doing that, and then I was like, no, this sucks. Like, and I actually wrote my album Mother's Hammer during 2020 and 2021 because there was nothing else to do other than like process all the things that had happened to me in the previous years. So it was like I was very much in my solitude. I didn't really make a lot of content, honestly, that was like, I wasn't even on TikTok. Like I was so against it. Was maybe
there now. Has it changed?
Still.
Changed a little bit.
No, I mean, it's just my acceptance of what has changed, not my feelings. Yeah, I'm a long form girl, so I like long form content.
And you make sure to, I think, like, especially leaning in now, everything is so publicly on display. Does that mean that it's become your artist universe, so to speak, feels like that private process? And that's just not going to be something that you want to meticulously lay out on display.
No, it's invasive. And it's also like, I don't know, my favorite artists, I don't want to know how they wrote, you know, Killing Me Softly. You know what I mean? Like these amazing songs. Do you want to know how this person started their day? Like to write Stairway to Heaven? Like probably not. You probably actually don't want to know what they did that day, you know? So I don't know. I'm not really interested in being a person that everybody knows. I'm interested in my art being something people know. So there's gotta be a little separation. And I'm not that interesting. I wake up, I go to the gym, I, you know, do witchy stuff. I go to the bathroom and yeah, like everyone else. It's not exciting.
Started some of the theming of this season is I kind of wanted to get in on the controversial style opinions, but not in the sense of like
controversial
exposed time. I more so mean like, would you say that a lot of artists that are posting this very, here's my process or here's exactly how I do this, do you think that's performance in itself? That's not actually what their process looks like?
I mean, I'm fully cool with anyone that they enjoy showing their process. I'm just saying it's not for me. I think it is a form of art. It's just like very meta, kind of like, you know, it's like Bob Ross, you know, painting with Bob Ross. It's like everyone loved that because he was really performing the painting, and like the softness of his voice is very like calming, and the scenes are always like a meadow with some trees, and like it's not about the painting. The painting sucks. You know what I mean? It's like it's the whole experience of watching Bob paint. You know, that in that case, the process is important. And I think there are people whose processes are way more interesting than mine. And yeah, if people want to see that, I think that's great. And if that can inspire somebody to make art too, like be like, oh, this person just like throws stuff at the wall and like, I bet I could do that, you know? So it could be inspiring. Just not for me.
She did good with that question.
Yeah, well.
I don't know why I framed it with we're looking for the controversy. No, I think it's because we're at this point now where I think when I started the podcast, 2020 was like a year or two ago. Now, this is like, it's not even new. This is how we live. And artists are aware of social media. And I like hearing you say, I'm accepting of it. Not, oh, I love it and I love it.
No.
I don't think everyone has to think it's amazing. But we're at this point where it is.
Yeah.
And it is going to stay.
And it's going.
And you've got to build a relationship with it. Right. Whatever that is for you.
Absolutely. There's no like, there's always been a new technology, like CDs. You know what I mean? Like it feels archaic now, but when CDs came out, everyone was like, no, this is going to change everything. And then it was like, MP3s, and everyone's like, oh no, this is gonna change everything. And now it's streaming, which like really changed everything. But there's always been something that we had to adapt to as artists who want to get our work out there. It's like really the thing I struggle with, I think the most about social media is that it's so visual, and I think music, like sometimes just closing your eyes and listening to music is like the greatest thing in the entire world. I think everyone knows that. But like having to see constantly music, it changes the way you hear it. So like your senses are kind of always fighting each other. And I think I think it would be in the service of everybody to just listen to music without a visual.
Yeah.
To remember to do that, because it's hard to remember now. Like even Spotify has visuals while you're listening. You know what I mean? It's like we can't get away from the stimuli. But I guess that's maybe the thing, and just like how people look. Just like it shouldn't be so important. You shouldn't have to look interesting or whatever. Like you should be able to just make music.
Yeah.
But again, we adapt.
It's really wild to actually hear this starting, because I have so many questions for you about these very visual, experiential things that you created.
I love making visuals.
And also, I have to compliment you on your socials in general.
Thank you.
The Heads on TV audience knows that I work with artists on improving their marketing and what to post. And I was going to say, you're a fantastic Instagram account to scroll, because you have a really nice balance, believe it or not, of a little bit of the behind the scenes, but a lot of this really beautifully dreamt up experiential stuff. And I kind of just want to start by asking, where did this sort of film and cinematic side of you start playing into the Annabel Lee project?
Oh man. I think it was when I moved to LA 7 years ago now. I was finally like not afraid. I'm from Massachusetts, like you.
Same.
And like in Boston there wasn't really like a lot of like, I guess performance art isn't the word, but like there wasn't a lot of theatrical music happening from what I could see that I was into.
A lot of pop punk.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're around the same age. A lot of
like
pop punk.
the like guys in the like suspenders with the like, hey.
Oh, so
like
Lumineers.
that stuff. Yeah.
Oops,
That
I didn't
stuff.
say that. Fiona said it.
It was just like not really a scene where I felt comfortable exploring much. And when I moved here, I met all these people that were so open and creative. And I mean, I've always loved writing bits. Like my number one dream in life is to be the musical guest on SNL and to be in the skits. Like that is my dream. You heard it here first.
Heard it here first. Tagging NBC SNL.
Yes, please. But I've always written little bits, and I still do. And when I was a kid, I had like my parents gave me their old like over the shoulder 80s camera, and me and my brother would make movies. Me and my friends would make movies. And like that was just always a thing that I really loved doing. It was so fun for me. And I didn't really feel like doing that until I moved here again. Like I wasn't even really writing music before. Like a few months before I moved here, I was like not even writing, you know? But when I met all these people that were like motivated and music felt like, you know, this whole other thing, I was like, oh, I can kind of be ridiculous now. Like I've always wanted to be. So it's kind of just like being here, honestly, opened that for me.
Was there any also like a specific movie or anything that was like an aha moment for you before you started leaning into a lot of your latest projects?
Movie aha moment.
Movie, another artist. Just that thing maybe you went, I could do that, or I could do my own version of that.
That's a really good question. I don't know that there's like an artist I can point to, but I think it was just being alone a lot in my studio with all these tools. And sometimes like at like 4 a.m. I'll like wake up and I'll have an idea that's just like I wrote a bit about Thanksgiving once at like 4 a.m, and I never did anything with it, but it was just like
SNL. It's for
hey,
sale.
If you need a Thanksgiving bit, I've got it. But like it kind of crash lands on me in the same way that songwriting can feel like it does. They're very similar for me. And then like once, you know, I met Yvonne and Gabe. They're the two most lovely people, and we make all my like music videos, and we just made a film together. When I met them, it was like, oh my God, anything is possible now, because like I have people that know how to like really do this. And I can, you know, tell them this idea and we can actually make it make sense. So it's also, again, it's like moving here and meeting people that are incredible and talented to make you better.
Brought it right out of you.
Yeah. Totally. And now
Creating
I'm
a
like,
movie.
should I just do film now?
That's what I say. It's like creating a whole genre of your own, really.
Yeah.
So you didn't have like the Shining moment where you're like, wow, it was I
Oh, I love
movie,
The Shining.
but like I saw this movie and it just changed it, or I went to the show or saw this person.
No, not really.
And
I mean,
that's
I'm
fine.
inspired
That's
all
totally
the time.
fine.
I'm mostly inspired by mundane shit though. Like,
That's cool though.
Like, I don't know, just like, I was in New York like a week ago, and just like sitting on the subway across from a stranger and just like looking at them and like wondering where they're going and what their story is. And
Subway's like a genre in itself.
it's incredible. Like all the little weird romantic things you see all the time. I think that's more of what inspires me. I mean, I love seeing people play live. I love, watching films and stuff, obviously, but I don't really get inspired. I'm not often that inspired like right after I watch something.
I get that. I totally get that. I want to ask you about a couple of your specific events that I've seen a lot of this. Sadly, I wasn't here in LA to see them, but I saw all the social coverage of, and I was just blown away. First one I want to ask you about is Night at the Opera. She knows. She's like, yes. Fiona knows too, behind the camera.
Fiona was there.
I want to hear, and just a little aside when I bring these up, like, again, all about the details. So what inspired it, but also really just like tell me about it and putting it on and what happened from it.
Whew, this was the craziest undertaking I've ever done. So I started with, I had these two songs that I wrote in 2021. They're called Colorful Kid and Mother Mary. And I wrote them one day apart from each other during a period of time when I was having really awful panic attacks. And also, when I have panic, usually it lasts like a couple days and it'll be affecting my dreams. So I'll have really, really scary, violent nightmares. And so I was writing about these two things. And I was also in the process of like recording my album and stuff during the time. And I was like, I really like these songs, but they feel like they are not in like Mother's Hammerland. Like it's a different place. So they didn't make the album, but they were on the list. You know what I mean? They were like, they were written around the same time as a lot of these other songs. And I kind of put them on the back shelf. I released my album. I was focused on that. And then after, I went back to these songs and I was like, I want to make a visual. I want to make this into like a short film that, kind of brings you through a panic attack and a nightmare. And in that, I also was able to work through some personal trauma in the visuals, which was like a huge deal for me. It was like a very intense process. But I went to Yvonne and Gabe and I was like, hey, so I have this idea. I want to make a short film that's scored by these two songs. I told them kind of a few things that I definitely wanted to happen, but it was like very like open book.
Yeah.
But I went to them after I had booked this venue. And I knew happening. I was like, I'm going to have a Night at the Opera, which was the reason I wanted to do a Night at the Opera was because, sorry, I'm like so caffeinated right now.
It's the best way to talk.
Yeah,
honestly.
I've had 4 shots of espresso today. So I went to Italy.
Okay.
I was in Florence. And it was nighttime in an alleyway. And there's this old church. And they were having an opera recital. So it was just this pianist and this beautiful opera singer. And you got a cup of, like a little Dixie cup of wine. and you sat down. It was like it looked like just like, folding chairs in a church. It was so weird, but it was the church that was like 2,000 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this opera, I had never seen opera before, and I didn't think I was gonna like it because I was like, I don't know what they're saying. Lyrics are so important to me. I don't know how I'm gonna like follow this. But I was weeping. Everyone was weeping. It was like the way the air was moving from this woman singing, and like just the space we were in, the pain, and just like it was so incredible, and it like changed my life. So when I came back from that, I was like, I want to do an opera themed night where I hire an opera singer. We do this kind of like spooky Victorian, we find a space that feels like it could hold an opera. And then I was like, but maybe it could be a short film. I could premiere my short film with these 2 songs, because I knew I wanted to do that. So then I went to Yvonne and Gabe and was like, hey, so I planned this event, and none of the work for the event is done yet. I still had to talk to my producer, Justin Glasgow, to make the music as well. So it was like, I came to them, they were down. I think they were trepidatious. They were like, this is a lot. But they were like, yeah, let's try and do it. And Justin was also super busy, but like somehow we got it all done. And I think until the actual night came, I didn't think any of it was going to happen. I was like, I don't know how like we're going to pull this off. I didn't sleep for like 2 weeks. I was so stressed. But it was incredible. It was so fun. My friend Gabriella sang opera. She's incredible. Everybody came dressed like
a true night at the opera.
Oh my God, it was beautiful. And we played, and we had a red carpet and tattoos, and it was a really fun night. And it was very intimate. It was like a small space that I got. It was an old escape room.
Okay.
So it was spooky, and like very much the vibe. Like there was a fireplace with like candelabras and stuff, and it was very cool. Yeah, but I think it all stemmed from me seeing opera and like feeling that like room, I guess.
I'm just hearing this just makes me sad I wasn't in town to go to something like that.
There'll be more.
Just sounds phenomenal.
There'll be more.
Actually,
never again am I doing that, but I'll do a different event.
That was so cool. You could even see, I mean, all of that theming even came across in the social and the content around it. So kudos to you for pulling that off. I want to ask what like some of the, like reflecting on it now, what are some honest pros and cons of that? So we do something like that. I know you said I didn't necessarily have specific expectations, but what came of it? What didn't come of it? And if doing it again, sort of like what might you change?
Ooh. Well, I mean, the con is always like, I don't have a label. I don't have a team. I don't have like a huge budget to do anything. And I also, I think if I did it again, I would have asked for someone to be my like person, that night. 'Cause not only was I hosting this event and like kind of, helping everything along, it was like I had sound check, and then I had to screen the film a few times because we were having technical difficulties. We had to build the stage that night. There was just like a lot of things going on, and like I wanted to look good also. Like, it's like when you're doing multimedia and you're throwing an event, there's very little time for you to actually like compose yourself because you're running around. Like every event I've ever done, I've like been sweaty in every picture because I'm just like running around the whole time, like making sure everyone's got everything they need and like making sure the mics are working, whatever it is. I'm very much like a producer while I'm supposed to be the star, like I'm supposed to be able to just like enjoy all this work. But I think having a person, and like I did have people help me that night. I'm not saying I didn't. I for sure had incredible people helping me. But I think more asking for help more is like a thing I'd like to start doing. Because I also don't trust people with my visions, and I'm like, you're not in my circle, so I don't know. I don't know if you can be part of this and like do the job, which is not cool.
It's another thing too, where I think a lot of, especially independent artists, are like, I don't have the budget to hire a producer or a camera person or someone to film content. Ask a friend. Sometimes it's a friend.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not who you exactly think it is. And I like to hear you say that, kind of like, I need a person, as in it's not just one type of a trades hire. It can be, if you're in the middle of Kansas doing the same thing, it's someone you know, it's your mom, it's a friend.
Yeah.
It's like, it can be that.
And I did. And my partner was like a huge help that day. And like I had a person that was filming, and I had like a couple people helping. Like I think my bandmates helped put the red carpet step and repeat up, because I started doing it, and then I was like, I need to do my hair, like, and then I like ran inside and just left it, and then someone handled it. It's like, it was just the kind of thing where there's so much stress around it that I should have been better at accepting that I have one body and two hands, and just like it's okay to ask for help. It's good advice. Ask for help. It's okay.
Part of my madness of this podcast is, no matter how many seasons I do, I want to get every artist to say the same thing over and over, to just remind you that it's what you think it is. Yeah. It's asking for help. It's looking in your own circle. And I wanted to ask you too, because you've pulled these off so brilliantly.
Thank you.
Is there, like, I think if you were to tack it onto some sort of a personal success goal as an artist, what would you say an in-person event experience sort of provides for your career, either success-wise or just moving you towards something? What would you say it kind of serves that purpose as?
Oh, man. That's a good question. I think from my experience, when I go to an event that is like, kind of all encompassing, there's a lot going on. There's a dress code. There's things to do, and interactive kind of things. I think that is like the ultimate respite from reality. And obviously right now, especially, I mean, there's so much always turmoil in the world. There's so much just terrible shit happening all the time. And there's always the argument of like, we shouldn't be making art because it's insensitive to be promoting things and da-da-da-da. But I'm of the firm belief that like, this is when you're supposed to. And I think whether it be about the world or not, your art is a break for people. Sometimes it's like, oh, it's a space where you can live for an hour or two that isn't the hell that is the world. You know what I mean? And I think when things are immersive and you come with an expectation of like, okay, I had to wear a corset here and I'm not myself tonight. I'm going to be someone else tonight. There's something to that everyone can tap into and enjoy. Yep. And especially someone that maybe works a mundane job, like a 9-to-5 or whatever. And like, that's our job. I think it feels like my job as an artist to make like a safe haven for people that are a little weird, but like that are maybe just needing a fucking break.
Yep.
And to like be enveloped in something that reminds you of beautiful things, or that reminds you that dark things are beautiful and that we're all kind of in this shit together. And those events, like, I think it makes it more intense than just like going to see a show. Going to see a show is always great, but like, do I leave feeling transformed in any way? Not usually.
Yeah.
But when I go to events that are like, I'm wearing like something insane and I'm with people that are all kind of on this other plane and we're all playing with each other in this way, I think there's something that like kind of transforms. And then you go home and you wake up the next morning and you have this insane memory. So,
and you pulled it off. That's the coolest part.
I try.
You pulled it off yourself.
I try my best.
I have some fun like rip through, what is it called? Like lightning round fun questions for you.
Okay.
So we actually already talked about social media, which was great. I loved your answers in the beginning about it. But I wanted to ask, if you had to answer this, what's your most controversial opinion about the music industry right now?
We don't need them, they need us.
And who's them for you?
Just all those guys. We don't need those guys. We don't need any of you guys. None of them. All right. That's my controversial opinion.
To expand on it, we're talking more so like you don't need the traditions of what you think an artist career needs to look like.
No, and we don't need so many men there. We don't need so many guys there. There's just too many guys. And old opinions. And yeah, like traditional models. Yeah,
move to LA, sign to a label. It's all figured out.
That doesn't happen. And like virality is so stupid. I hope this goes viral. It's great.
That's up to you guys.
It's great. You know, it's great. It's awesome. If I went viral, I would literally like pop champagne and pour it on my head right now. But I think the truth of the matter is that the industry is flailing right now. We see you flailing. And artists are thriving. And artists are changing culture right now.
If you had to answer a question of, is there like a way that the music industry has let you down or continues to let you down? An area that's important that you have a platform, what would you want to talk about?
Has the industry let me down? I mean, I've gotten so much rejection, but I love my work. Like, I love my work. I love everything I make. Even when I like don't love it anymore and I'm like embarrassed about it, I still love it. I think the lack of risk taking on something that's not easy. I think we wouldn't have so much important art if people didn't take risks. And I think everyone's just stopped taking risks, period. I mean, there are definitely people getting through. I'm starting to have hope again, for sure. But I think it's time to kind of shake it up.
The industry seems to have taken over the music.
Yeah.
This is something I personally play with all the time, is when I many moons ago, I put out my own music too and was in a band and did all that stuff. And I started through all of my entry points into the industry, realized that music and industry are separate concepts.
Yeah.
And what's happened in places like Nashville and Hollywood and New York is they became that commodified. It's a singular unit of music. Industry is very different actually from artistic expression. Artistic expression feeds into what the music industry is, but they're separate things. And I think especially what you're saying of like hoping for that breakthrough is that the biggest swing and risk you can take might not even be big enough. Like you should never fear it. It's probably you could even go bigger.
Right. And to conflate the two, like to say like, and I struggle with this. I'm projecting right now because I would love for one of the many labels who rejected me to be like, oh, we love this. They did love it. That's the thing. That's the thing that bothers me is that it's always like, we love this, but your numbers, you know? And like, yeah, I don't have the numbers because I don't have a trust fund either. And it costs money. And that's what your job is. Again, hot take. But I think not getting the validation from the industry, not getting validation from it should not affect what you make. And I think social media should not affect what you make. You should be able to stand next to everything you make and be like, oh, this is me. I'm proud of this. Instead of being like, well, this was an idea because this worked one time, or, my new A&R told me I should go in this direction, so I'm trying this out. It's like, you just gotta, Janis Joplin, never compromise yourself. You're all you've got. That's the that's everything. Like, you just, no matter who compliments you, whether it be an industry person or if, you know, someone you look up to, you have to stand by everything you make. And the industry will fight you tooth and nail to get you to make something that's already been made that worked one time, that made them money before. So, like, finding the right people in the industry that actually care about artists and care about new music and the world in general, that's really the goal, and it's hard to do.
These are some hot takes. These are some hot off the press takes. Yes, what do they do in this poetry world?
Oh, it's next.
To all that. How about a couple fun ones? Since
Yeah.
I just poked you all the way to the other side. This is one. I want to rephrase this with you, actually. I think the way I want to phrase this for you is if you could travel back in time or into the future and put on a music festival of your dreams. The original question was, who would you headline with? But I think for you, I want to ask, what would it look like?
Oh,
you? Dream, no budget, restrictions. What would this festival look like?
Festival. Oh my gosh. Oh, it'd be a big undertaking. Well, it would be inside somewhere. I know that for sure. Maybe underground. Ooh, I know where it would be. Okay. So in Kansas, there's a salt mine. It's like miles underground. And it's where they keep like movie costumes from like classic movies and old film, because it's all salt and it keeps things preserved. This is strange information I'm giving.
Fantastic.
But this is real life. I went to this salt mine many moons ago, and I think, and you have to go down in this like rickety square elevator down underground. It's so sinister. It's crazy. You get down there and there's like pathways and tunnels and like these salt like stalactites and stuff, like all these, like, it's crazy. It's insane. I would want to do.
I already just know where this is. That's why I'm smiling.
First of all, it would be, everyone would get a map as an invite.
It would smell really good.
It would smell incredible.
It would smell really good.
Everyone would get a map. Anyway, I would do my festival in an underground tunnel. Everyone would have a map, and different maps. So like you couldn't like work off someone else's, and you'd have to like find where the festival was. But there'd be different like areas of the salt mine with different bands. Maybe that's what I'd do. Oh, and it would probably be like, I don't know, it could be like a dungeony, like maybe like a Mad Max vibe theme, like leather.
I was gonna say, were there costumes?
Yeah, it would be like leather. I don't know, leather and like dirt.
You can still pull this off.
Leather and dirt.
I'm sure this National Monument gets all these requests for crazy Mad Max music festivals. They'd love it.
In a salt mine.
You got to check out Grand Canyon Caverns. If you don't know what that is, you would love that. After what you just told me,
yeah,
you got to go there.
Sweet.
Near Vegas, actually. Kind of.
Wow.
Okay, couple more fun ones. How does live music, would you say, play into the old marketing strategy, as it's called, for you today? And what I mean by that is when you put out a new song, a new album, is booking a live show important for you now?
I mean, I think live shows are always important. That's my favorite part about doing any of this, is performing the live show. I think not even necessarily for a release, but just like playing live and being with the people that consume your music is always important. Marketing, yeah, it's important because it shows that you're out there, like grinding and doing it, and that people are there buying tickets to see you. It's also important for your mental health. I mean, as someone that likes to perform, not everybody does, but like my shows kind of carry me through the next couple months. You know, if I do a show, I try to do a show every 3 months or so. And if I do a show, I'm good because I was just reminded enough times that people get it. until, you know, month 4 comes and I forgot, people get it, and I'm upset again, and then I play a show, and then I remember, you know.
So you do shows for you.
Absolutely.
You do shows for your
I'll
expression.
be selfish about it. But I also, you know, I also do events where I'm trying to build experiences for people, but the shows, I feel like they have to be kind of for you, to be honest. We all love our music. We all love playing our music. But yeah, I don't know if shows are good for marketing necessarily. I think marketing is so much on the internet now that, like, yeah, it's great if you have a good clip of a show, but like the show itself is not, you know, people aren't like, it's so hard to get industry to shows. You know, it's like, oh yeah, I'll be there. Oh, I love it. Put me on the list. And then, you know, might not come. Probably not.
Yeah.
But even that, it's like, that's not the marketing thing. That's not the thing that's gonna get people to turn on to you. It's the people there that you're doing it for, and you to, you know, keep going. I think
that. A great answer.
I could be wrong. I don't know anything about marketing.
I also want to ask, my last questions are very LA centric. So I wanted to ask, either ones you've performed at or just in general, venues or showcases right now that you feel like are on the rise here in LA at this exact moment.
Gold Diggers. The music's great every night. They book great talent. It's fun. It's a vibe. It's kind of like, feels kind of like the East Coast, actually. Drinks are good. It's just a good place to see music, and it's the kind of place that's easy to get. It's easy to get people to go there, which is like a big thing, where it's not, the location's easy, you know, it's a cool vibe to be a part of. People like to go there.
Can I just ask, do you think it's the venue size? Do you think that now in a city like this too, like people going out on a Tuesday, they don't want to go to Crypto Arena? Like it's all about somewhere.
I think like 100, 200 cap rooms are fantastic. And even smaller, you know. I think Gold Diggers has its own vibe going on, because that place has a lot of history, and there's like, you know, ghosts going around and tapping you on the shoulder.
And you can stay. It's a hotel
great.
upstairs.
You can stay.
Record.
There's a studio in there. Yeah, it's awesome.
We need more like it.
Where else? I've enjoyed the Moroccan. I've played a few times there. The sound is really kicking there. It's good. Where else?
Any showcases either too that are just examples are, it's a school night, like those types of things?
You know, I did school night pre-pandemic times, and it was one of the greatest nights of my life. That was a very good time for me. And then 2 weeks later, the city shut down.
I can do you one better. I just want to say, you know what March 13th, 2020 was? My birthday.
Oh, really?
That was the shutdown memory, was my actual birthday. That's what everyone remembers now. Great.
Damn. Yeah, I think school night, I went a couple times this year. I think the scene is slowly regenerating from like years of not existing. I actually went to Club TG the other night. That's a spot in Atwater that's very cool. It's small.
Was it to see Allie?
Yeah, it was to see Allie.
Allie, who was on the podcast before.
And they got a big disco ball. Anywhere with a big disco ball, I'm kind of in. Also, Desert 5 has a music night, and it's just, they have a huge disco ball that's cowboy boots. If you just go there to see
look
that.
for the disco ball.
Yeah.
Just look for the disco ball.
But that's like more of a singer-songwriter night that's coming up that has like a cool vibe. But yeah, I mean, I got my start here at Hotel Cafe. And they have Monday, which is like, it's been running for like 10 years, this songwriter night. And it was just a lot of good. It was a good place to meet a lot of people, and like so many. Like I played the same night as like JP Sachs and Rhett Madison and all these people that are kind of, and Theo Katzman used to play there all the time. Like all these people that have kind of, it was like a, you know, they got beamed up, you know, and it just feels like a launch pad. Well, it did before the pandemic. I'm not sure so much now, but it's definitely been a place where a lot of stars have beamed up.
Do you think LA still has launchpad power post-pandemic? Do you think there's any hope of that? And I guess launchpad power, for anyone not in the LA world, but you consider it as you show up to these specific showcases, venues, or circuits, and you have a very high chance somebody in the industry actually taking notice of you.
I would like to believe that it does, but I don't. I think LA has its own power. I think is the best of the best and the worst of the worst here. You got everybody that was the best in their town that moved here. Some people that live there already, but a lot of transplants that like made the trip. And then you have people that were gassed up their whole lives and made to believe they were great who are also here. So it's like a very cool mix of people. I don't know if the launch pad is so much like industry people coming to shows. I think it's more kind of what we were talking about before with like the launch pad is the people that the company you keep here. Like that's the launch pad. Like your friends, your music community, the people you work with, that's the launch pad. The launch pad is like, you know, the connection you make through your, you know, your drummer, your producer, your whatever. Those are the things that actually beam you up. It's not like the guy sitting in the back of the club anymore, like, you're gonna be a star. That's just not how it's not how it happens.
I think a guy came up to me like that, I'd say,
yeah,
I actually had it out.
Yeah, no, truth.
Well, Annabel Lee, this has been so much fun.
Yay!
So much fun. I just wanted to say
fun.
your name in full. I have one more question for you.
Okay.
And I just want to remind everyone you can find Annabel Lee. Is it your Annabel Lee on Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay. Your Annabel Lee, and then all of her social, all of her Spotify is Annabel Lee.
Yeah.
And ANNABEL.
Space. LEE.
LE, which is super, super cool. So my last question is, it feels like the SATs the way I worded this, but roll with it, people.
I didn't
roll
do
with
well
it.
on those.
An aspiring artist just moved to LA for the first time. How would you tell them to spend their first month here?
Did they save up money before they came?
Let's say they can handle their rent and they have like a part-time thing lined up.
Got it. Okay. First of all, steer clear of men 60 and older, especially if they tell you they used to work with somebody. Then go to all of the taco trucks. Make sure, eat lots of tacos because they're the best here. Go see live music by yourself. Go have meals by yourself. It's not weird here. We all do it. Go see music by yourself and like be your artist. Like when I came here, I was like, I'm going to be an artist when I go out. And that's kind of like what you have to do for people to remember you. Shake hands with people, meet people. And even if you're quiet and you're in the back, somebody will bring you into a conversation. Don't be afraid to talk to people. But going to see music by yourself is probably the best thing that I did. I went out 4 nights a week, 5 nights a week when I first moved here because I was just like it was so potent. I could feel that like, you know, there was so much happening here. But yeah, and also just like don't say yes to the first thing. There's a lot of snakes in the grass. There's a lot of people out here that are connected to some person that sounds amazing, and like that's great that they're connected to them, but it really doesn't mean anything most of the time. And yeah, just like find people that you think are better than you, and then hang out with them.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. Thank you so much for being on the
Thanks for
By My
having
Wish
me.
podcast.
Yay!
We did it.
Thanks for having me.